It was an ordinary morning in 1995. Maria Jenkins, an 80-year-old black girl, sat in the front row of her classroom in South Los Angeles. Her eyes sparkled with curiosity, always attentive to every explanation from her teacher. That day, she had no idea she would hear words that would mark her life forever. "Maria, come solve this problem on the board," said Mrs. Davis with her tired, stern voice. It was a simple multiplication, 25 times 4. Maria stood up, nervous. Her small hands trembled as she held the chalk. She hesitated and got the answer wrong. Then came the blow that would change everything. "See? You'll never amount to anything in life." The words echoed through the room like daggers. Maria hung her head, feeling tears burr her eyes. In that moment, something broke inside the 80-year-old girl's chest. That night, Maria arrived home crying. Her mother, Mrs. Carroll, had just returned from work 3 different houses. She cleaned every day to support Maria and her 2 younger brothers. Their father had left when Maria was a baby, leaving only empty promises. "Mom, the teacher said he'll never amount to anything in life." Maria cried, clinging to her mother's worn apron. Mrs. Carroll stopped everything she was doing. Her calloused, working hands held her daughter's small face, and with a determination Maria had never seen before, she said, "My daughter, it doesn't matter what others say about you. What matters is what you believe about yourself. And I believe you can be anything you want." But the teacher's words had already planted a seed of doubt in Mariah's heart. Years passed. Maria grew up in a small, 2-bedroom apartment in a low-income neighborhood of Los Angeles, where 4 people lived. She had no desk to study. She did her homework on the floor, using a shoebox as a prop. While other children played outside, Maria took care of her younger siblings so her mother could work. The nights were long. Mrs. Carroll arrived exhausted around 10 at night, and Maria had already put David and James to sleep. Only then could she study, under a dim lamp, whispering not to wake anyone. Still, Maria was curious. She asked questions that bothered her teachers. Why is the sky blue? How do plants grow? The answers were always the same: stop asking silly questions. But Maria couldn't stop asking. She couldn't stop dreaming. At 12, everything changed. James, her younger brother, had a high fever that lasted 3 days. Mrs. Carroll couldn't afford a private doctor, and the community clinic was always crowded. Maria stayed awake for 3 nights, placing wet cloths on her brother's forehead, praying for the fever to break. When they finally got medical attention, the doctor quickly examined James and prescribed a simple medicine. Within 2 hours, the fever had subsided. Maria looked at that man in the white coat as if he were an angel. "I want to be a doctor," she told her mother that night. Mrs. Carroll smiled sadly. "My daughter, medical school is for rich people. It's too hard, too expensive. But he'll make it, Mom. He'll study hard and get a scholarship." At school, when Maria shared her dream, the reaction was devastating. Teachers laughed. Classmates mocked her. "Maria wants to be a doctor. The girl from the projects wants to be a doctor." They shouted at recess. The principal called Mrs. Carroll for a meeting. "Mrs. Carroll, I think it's better if Maria focuses on something more suitable for her reality. How about nursing?" Maria was hidden behind the door and heard everything. She felt that familiar pain in her chest again, as if someone was stepping on her heart. That night, Maria cried in the room she shared with her siblings. She cried out of anger, frustration, and pain. Why did everyone insist on telling her she couldn't? And that's when she made the decision that would change her life forever. "If no one believes in me, I'm going to prove everyone wrong. I'm going to be the best doctor this country has ever seen." From that day on, Maria transformed. She woke up at 5 in the morning to study before her siblings got up. She borrowed books from the public library. When she didn't understand something, she asked anyone who could help: the pharmacist, the clinic nurse, even the guy at the corner store. She created a notebook where she wrote down every medical term she found. She memorized the names of all the bones in the body by copying from a poster at the health clinic. She learned about diseases by reading medicine labels at the pharmacy. Mrs. Carroll noticed a change in her daughter. There was a determination in her eyes that both frightened and proud her. By the end of elementary school, Maria had the best grades in her school. When she applied for a scholarship to a private high school, the coordinator looked at her with disdain. Girl, this school isn't for you. You wouldn't be able to keep up. Maria felt tears burn, but didn't let any fall. Give me a chance. Just one test. The man sighed, annoyed. All right, but don't say I didn't warn you. Maria studied for a month like she had never studied before. On the day of the test, her hands trembled, but her mind was clear. When she saw the questions, she smiled. She knew all the answers. A week later, the phone rang at the neighbor's house. It was from the school. Maria had scored the highest among all applicants. She not only got the scholarship, she came in first place. My daughter made it, Mrs. Carroll whispered, hugging Maria. My girl made it. But the private high school was a brutal culture shock. Classmates arrived in expensive cars, wore designer clothes, talked about vacations in Europe. Maria arrived by public bus, in a used uniform, carrying a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Oh my God, you live in the projects? There are only gangs there. A classmate said on the first day. The first grades came in C in math, D in physics, F in chemistry. Maria came home devastated. I give up, Mom. I can't keep up. Mrs. Carroll looked at her daughter Maria. Do you remember when James had a fever and you stayed awake for 3 nights taking care of him? I remember. Did you give up? No. Then why are you going to give up now? Maria looked at her mother's calloused hands and felt something reignite in her chest. From that day on, she created a system: wake up at 4 in the morning, arrive at school early to ask questions, stay until the last minute in the library. Slowly, her grades began to climb. C turned into B turned into A. By the end of the first year, she was among the top 10. In the second year, among the top 5. In the third, she was first in her class. The time came for the medical school admission exam, the MCAT. The night before the test, fear consumed Maria. What if she didn't pass? What if all the sacrifices had been in vain? Mrs. Carroll sat next to her daughter, Honey. Do you remember why you wanted to be a doctor? Because of James. I wanted to help people. Has that changed? No. Then it doesn't matter what happens tomorrow. You are already victorious. The day of the exam dawned gray. Maria arrived 2 hours early, her stomach churning. But when she saw the first question, something clicked. She knew the answer, and the second too, and the third. 3 months later, Maria was working at the local grocery store when the owner shouted, Maria, your name is in the newspaper. You got in. She ran to the counter and saw Maria Jenkins, first place in the UCLA Medical School admission exam, first place among more than 40,000 applicants. The entire store erupted in celebration. Mr. Henderson, the owner, who never showed emotion, cried like a child. Maria ran home a poem. I got in. First place. Mrs. Carroll was folding clothes. She dropped everything on the floor. First place? The two hugged and cried in the backyard. Neighbors came out to see. The small apartment turned into a party. Everyone wanted to hug Maria, the girl who had proven that dreams can come true. University brought new challenges. Maria was one of the few black and poor students in the program. In the first few months, some classmates looked at her with skepticism. But Maria had learned something: she didn't have to be like others to succeed. During her pediatrics residency, one night, an 80-year-old boy arrived with severe pneumonia. His parents were poor and had delayed seeking help. Maria cared for the child throughout the night. When the sun rose, the boy was out of danger. Thank you, doctor. You saved our son, the father said with tears in his eyes. Maria smiled and knew she had found her purpose. After graduating, Maria received offers to work in prestigious private hospitals. But she made a decision that surprised everyone. She returned to work at her community's public health clinic. It was at the public clinic that my brother was saved. Now it's my turn to save other children. On her first day, Maria found her former elementary school teacher in line. The woman looked at her without initially recognizing her. Dr. Jenkins will see you now, the nurse said. The teacher looked up and froze. It was the same girl she had told would never amount to anything. Maria, is it you? Yes, Mrs. Davis. It's me. The woman began to cry. Maria, I need to ask for your forgiveness. I was wrong. Maria held the teacher's hand. You don't have to. You gave me the fuel to get here. Over time, Maria opened her own clinic in the Community Hope Health Clinic. On the reception wall, a phrase here, no dream is impossible. One day, an 80-year-old girl arrived with her mother, scared and crying. What's your name? Maria asked, crouching down. Ashley. Ashley, did you know that when I was your age, I was also afraid of doctors? But did you know you could be a doctor too? The girl's eyes lit up. You can be anything you dream of. Just never give up. Years later, Maria received the title of Doctor of the Year. At the ceremony, her entire family was present. Mrs. Carroll, David graduated in engineering, James studying law, and dozens of patients. In her speech, Maria said, when I was 8, a teacher told me I would never amount to anything. But my mother taught me that what defines us are our choices. Today, I choose to tell every child you can be anything you want. The audience rose in a standing ovation that lasted 5 minutes. But Maria just looked at Mrs. Carroll, who was crying with pride in the front row. Mrs. Carroll passed away 2 years ago due to cancer. Maria cared for her until her last day. On her deathbed, her mother held her daughter's hand. My girl, you proved I was right. You could be anything you wanted. And you chose to be even better than I imagined. Last month, Maria received an unexpected visit. It was her former elementary school principal, now elderly, accompanied by her 7-year-old granddaughter. Dr. Jenkins, the principal said with a choked voice, I came for 2 things. To ask for forgiveness for not believing in you, and to ask if you can examine my granddaughter. She keeps saying she wants to be a doctor like you. Maria smiled and picked the girl up. Of course you can be a doctor. The secret is to never give up on your dreams. Today, when Maria speaks to young people, her message is always the same. It doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't matter what others say. I was the girl they said would never amount to anything. Today I am a doctor, an entrepreneur. I have saved thousands of lives. I created a foundation that has helped over 1,000 young people get into university. But you know what my greatest achievement is? It's knowing that I became the person my mother believed I could be. Every night, Maria looks at a framed photo on her bedside table, her and Mrs. Carroll on graduation day, hugging, crying with happiness. On the back, it reads to my mother, who taught me that dreams have no address, color, or bank account. They just need courage to come true. Mariah's story teaches us that impossible is just an opinion, not a fact. That our origin does not determine our destiny. That the difference between those who achieve dreams and those who give up lies and refusing to accept no as a final answer. Maria turned every you can into fuel. She turned every obstacle into a stepping stone. She turned every tear into determination. The girl who would never be anything became everything she dreamed of being. And more importantly, she became the bridge for others to also achieve their impossible dreams. Because in the end, the greatest proof that nothing is impossible is not what we achieve for ourselves. It's how many other people we inspire to believe that they too can achieve the impossible. And that is Mariah's true legacy, having proven to the world that anyone, from anywhere, with any background, can do the same. Just believe. Just try. Just never give up. Because truly, nothing is impossible. This story is inspired by thousands of people who have proven that nothing is impossible when you have determination, family support, and faith in your own dreams.